Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogues. I'm Shereen Bhan, and joining me today is a man who's trying to revolutionize a 140-plus-year brand and take it forward. Vincent Warnery, the CEO of Beiersdorf, joins us in India. For those of you who are watching this program, Beiersdorf in India is most commonly associated with the brand Nivea, a brand that has made its presence felt in India for generations. Vincent, many thanks for joining us here on the Global Dialogue. Appreciate your time. Let me start by asking you about your view and outlook on India. As I pointed out, for India, Beiersdorf essentially means Nivea. When can it mean more going forward?
You know, it means Nivea since 1913. It was the first time when, we had a Nivea product which was sold in India. And since then, we have been building year after year a very strong presence in India. Nivea is the most trusted skincare brand for the fourth year and consecutive year. So really happy with the development of Nivea, but a lot to do. We are present in many product categories, but we are not present in the most important product category, which is face care, which is 60% of the total skincare market. And this is why I'm very happy to come today to India, because we are launching right now our first, Nivea face, products, specially designed for India, called Luminous, and I'm expecting a lot from this product.
Well, that's great to hear on the Luminous launch, but if you can give us a little bit more color on what this new launch will specifically mean as far as you're concerned. What does it do for you in the India market? What are you hoping to do? Because it's a fairly competitive space, Vincent. What will be the key differentiator that will drive you here in India?
It's very interesting to see that globally, you have 29% of the people who have an issue linked with hyperpigmentation, 29%. In India, it's 37%. And we are coming with an ingredient which is called thiamidol that we launched in the globe, in the world in 2018, which is the best anti-spot ingredient in the world. We have been testing this ingredient over and over in all countries, and it's the most successful ever launch of Beiersdorf with Nivea. And we've been working in the last 2-3 years to develop a specific offer for India, using the same concentration that we have in the rest of the world in terms of efficacy, but having, a packaging, having a product which is affordable, because Nivea is affordable. Nivea is a value for money brand, and we didn't want to make the mistake that others have done to come at the price which was too high. So we have a very good price. It's 500 rupees, and you can find the product online, offline. And this is our first real entry into the face care market. So we're expecting a lot from the launch now with Nivea. We're also using the same ingredient, but with a different formula, different concentration for Eucerin, which is our Derma brand that we're introducing this week, in the DermaCon in India. So we have a lot of hope, linked to this hyperpigmentation consumer expectation, which is developing across the world and particularly in India.
You talked about your strategy for the face care market here in India, but what are the trends that you're picking up on specifically as far as the Indian consumer is concerned? And I want to link this to your outlook on China. I remember you said that if you can succeed in China, you can succeed anywhere globally. So how different is India as a market for you, and what do you eventually expect to do here in India?
I mean, that what is very interesting when you look at Indian consumers, they move, from a market of cold cream, face care cream, to a much more sophisticated offer. We're talking about serums, we're talking about ingredients, we're talking about efficacy, and we are surfing on this wave. We're coming with the know-how of Beiersdorf, which is ingredients. Everything is based on ingredients, so thiamidol, also soon epicelline and anti-age, and we're developing formula which are delivering a true efficacy. And you're right to mention China. China also is obviously a very important market for this hyperpigmentation area, and we were lucky enough in November to get the first ever anti-hyperpigmentation ingredient validated by the regulatory authorities. So this is the first ever. So we are also a lot of hope for China, but will become in 2026. So 2025, this is a year of India. We have a lot of hope in terms of growth for Nivea, the mother brand, but also the fact that over the next 4 months, we will introduce We have already introduced Eucerin, but we'll come with La Prairie, which is the most luxury brand in the world, with Chantecaille, which is a very nice brand. So, in fact, between November 24 and June 2025, you will have the full portfolio of Beiersdorf launched in India, which proves, the importance of the Indian market for us and the fact that it is, the most strategic market we want to succeed in after, as I said, 20 years of, good build-up of the brand and good successes across the country.
Well, that's quite a statement, Vincent, you made there, that 2025 is going to be the year of India as far as Beiersdorf is concerned. So again, give us more details on the strategy specifically that you intend to follow. You said that it will be both online and offline across different price points with different brands addressing those different price points. So what could that mean in terms of sales growth for you?
But today, India is already one of the top 10 countries for Beiersdorf. And we have only 2 brands. We have, of course, Nivea. We have also Hansaplast. So we are missing the 3 other big brands, which is the one we are launching in India right now. So obviously, we are in the top 10 today. I'm expecting India to be in the top 5 pretty quickly. We have a fantastic ecosystem. We have an R&D center in India. We have a factory in India. So that's one of the only countries where we have the full, spectrum of activities. We have an extremely good team, with a strong leader. We've been also doing a pretty good job over the last 20 years. Often when you look at the history of a business, you see some mistakes, some failures. It's not the case for India. It was really a marathon. We've been growing every year. And now I think the fact that we are able to come with this new ingredient, and this is the first time we're coming with such a new ingredient with an offer which is designed for Indian consumers, is making us very optimistic because it's surfing on the wave of, sophistication of the market. It is clearly a big priority off and online. Online, we've been doubling the business since last year, and we have a fantastic, partnership with Nika, with a lot of e-commerce players. It's also about digitalization. We talk about influencer marketing. We are no longer doing the classical TV that we used to do in the past when I was myself in marketing. We are using influencers. We are using, digital media to talk to our audience. So I think all the things happening, in India, and particularly the fact that there is, this increase of the middle class, who wants to take care of their beauty, want to take care of their skin, is something which is a fantastic accelerator for us. I think we have never felt so ready for India that in 2025, and this is why we have this extreme dynamism in launching 3 brands, in 6 months.
Right, so, the full suite of your products soon to be launched here in India. But Vincent, you were talking about digitalization and how that is now going to be driving growth for you. What about here in India specifically? You talked about your partnership with Nika, for instance. Give me the levers, the growth drivers for Beiersdorf here in India that you intend to focus on.
I think what I did, perhaps simply, is to go back to the history of Beiersdorf. It's very interesting to see that Beiersdorf, already 140 years ago, invented modern skincare. We invented the value for money brand, which is Nivea. We invented also Derma, the first dermatologic brand, Eucerin, was created by Beiersdorf. And then over the years, we lost a little bit this edge. We lost a little bit this focus. We were a bit too distracted by other product categories. So the first thing I've done is to say it's great to have a lot of product categories, but there is nothing more important than skincare. And the focus on skincare has been absolutely clear for each and every country, for every brand. The second element, I mentioned that to you in the beginning of the interview, the R&D engine. We are a fantastic team, of 1,000 researchers, some of them based in Mumbai, some of them in Hamburg, in Shanghai, in New Jersey, which have a fantastic know-how in skincare R&D. And I was able, to put more money, obviously, but also to strengthen the organization, to be sure that we get back to what we used to be, the motto of Beiersdorf. We find extraordinary ingredients, and we use them for our brands. So it used to be Thiamidol in 2018. You will hear soon about Epicelline, an anti-age ingredient that we're launching right now, which is a fantastic, anti-age ingredient. We have other things coming in acne also. And acne is a very interesting story for Indian. That 70% of Indian people have an issue with acne, while globally it's 40%. So you imagine also the potential also for a company like us to enter this market. So back to ingredient, and last but not least, an appetite for growth, an appetite for entering white spaces, you know, and India was a white space, you know. We were good with some product categories, but with only a few brands, you know. So being more daring, bolder in entering China, India, even the US, you know, Africa, where, you know, we have some business, but we are not as big as we should be. And I think this recipe, you know, is working pretty well. You know, we are in a very dynamic market. Also, the beauty market is a great market. In bad years, you grow 4%. In good years, you grow up to 6%. We've been able to overperform the market and all our competitors in 23, in 24. Hopefully, in the last quarter, we'll see soon the results of our competitors. But there is clearly a new growth appetite for this company, with brands which are, as you mentioned in the beginning, super well known and super respected by consumers. So that makes a pretty successful recipe for us, and this is why we are pretty successful in 24, in 23, and hopefully in 2025.
Well, Vincent, I think the appetite for growth is being reflected as far as your market cap is concerned, and we've seen the markets reward that. But, you know, you were talking about R&D and the focus on R&D. Let me understand from you, what is the percentage of R&D spends at this point in time? How do you create a culture of maximizing on your R&D returns? What are you doing differently today? Because you also talked about the fact that how, you know, there was distractions that caused you to lose your way in the middle, but the focus is now sharply back on skincare. So how have you been able to do that?
That's a great question. You know, in terms of investment, we spend 3% of our sales in R&D, which is the best in class. You know, if you look at L'Oréal, they are exactly the same figures. So really, you know, investing big on money, and we never question these figures. Even in difficult years, I know the COVID year 2020, we spent 3% of our net sales in R&D. I think what we have done is to refocus first the R&D on this search for outstanding ingredients. You know, moving away from perhaps what we call marketing innovation, which is, you know, more concept and claims, into true R&D discovery of new ingredients, and then being sure that we leverage them, you know, on all our brands. You know, we call that brand cascading. You know, there is with the same ingredient, you can have a totally different formula and totally different story on Nivea, on Eucerin, on La Prairie and Chantecaille. And it's a pity, you know, to use only one brand to leverage one ingredient. So we've been doing that with Thiamidol, which has been launched under Eucerin, Nivea, La Prairie, and next month we'll launch it under Chantecaille. We'll do that also with Epicelline, and all our countries, all our business units are focusing most of the investment on the products, you know, which are using those new ingredients, because this is where we make the difference, and this is pretty paying off.
Well, renewed focus on using new ingredients, many of which you have patented. Once we are going to take a quick break, but don't go back anywhere. We're going to be back on the Global Dialogue and talk about Beiersdorf, the Nivea makers' plans for India when we're back. Stay with us. You're watching the Global Dialogues, and we're in conversation with the global CEO of Nivea-maker Beiersdorf, Vincent Warnery. Vincent, you were talking about the patented ingredients and how those are driving growth for you. You also talked about Thermidiol, for instance, as well as the other anti-aging product or ingredient that you're launching. What is the patent pipeline looking for you at this point in time? What can we expect? And in India, the launch of Luminous, which is the new brand, you know, what do you expect to do with that?
I mean, in India, the launch of Luminous, which is this new franchise, I think is really a revolution. You know, we're going to move, I say, from a brand that Indians love and into a brand that they praise for the efficacy. You know, really, there is not a more interesting category than face care. This is really when you prove the efficacy of your ingredient, when you prove the efficacy of your R&D, and this Luminous range that you will start to see everywhere in India will be, I think, a strong moment of pride for the company and for Nivea. And then we have Eucerin. You know, we are entering, you know, this derma market. We are one of the first global brands, you know, entering the Indian derma market. You know that you have in India 12,000 dermatologists. You know, it is as many as in full Europe. And we are expecting those dermatologists to welcome Eucerin, to welcome this new Thiamidol ingredient. We have the DermaCon this week in India. where we're going to meet 7,000 out of the 12,000, dermatologists. So it's a fantastic opportunity. We're starting to talk with them. So also, I think Beiersdorf will become a referent company for dermatologists, and this is essential for Beiersdorf. This is, everything started by, a famous Professor Una, who was the dermatologist, working on the formula. And last but not least, we are super excited by the launch of La Prairie and Chantecaille. We struggled in the past because you didn't have a lot of department store, and we used to be very offline, very linked to department store. And now with all the new e-commerce players you have in India, starting with Nykaa, we have a great opportunity to make this luxury brand also accessible, and not only offline but also online. So I'm expecting a lot from India. I mean, we have a business which is still small for us. It's 2% of the total sales of Beiersdorf, but I have a strong appetite. I think seeing India becoming a 500 million euro business for us, in the coming years, is not a dream, and it's something I really want to achieve. And also learning from Indian consumers. The fact that we have this R&D facility in Mumbai, and they are responsible for the global skin of color research. So every time we are developing a specific formula for black skin, for Asian skin, for Indian skin, this is developed in Mumbai. It's also a fantastic business accelerator, not only for India, but for the rest of the world. So really a big hope for India, helping us being better also, not only in India, but also at the global level.
So once you said that 2% of global revenues currently is what you get from India, and you hope to take that number to 500 million euros over the next few years. Would it be fair to assume that that could be within the next 5 years?
That's my objective. That's the objective I will give to our general manager.
Right. You were also talking about how you've changed your communication strategy. You're much more active on social media. You've brought social media influencers into the mix as well. How hard is the Gen Z market to crack? What are the lessons that the Gen Z market is teaching you about skincare?
They are super demanding, and they know what they're talking about. This is very interesting to see the expertise of consumers, and particularly this generation, regarding ingredients, regarding what salicylic acid is doing, what retinol is doing, what are the pros and cons. So you cannot bullshit them. You have to tell them the truth. You have to be true to your claims. You cannot claim things that you are not delivering. So that's very interesting, because it's also raising the bar. It's also forcing us, to have this good level of conversation with them, to also make them aware what we are doing. We do a lot of visit of our R&D center, for example, also for influencers, so they can see the people who are formulating the products. So it's really, a much more adult, I would say, exchange with them, where we can talk about formula, we can talk about ingredients, and we can really, and when they are happy, which is what happened, with this ingredient I was mentioning, it's really paying off, and we see this sophistication in India also, because you have a lot of new brands also which are based on ingredients. We see this sophistication, we see this need to raise the bar, and this is why we felt that it was the right time to come with a more sophisticated offer, not only on Nivea, but also with the rest of the portfolio. That's the kind of challenge we like, and that's a kind of challenge where I think we have the good answer, and we are able to convince them.
Right. I want to ask you a quick question as far as the global macros are concerned. Today we're seeing trade wars escalate and de-escalate overnight. As a CEO running a global corporation, how do you brace yourself for the kind of uncertainty and volatility that we are seeing?
It's my daily life, and might be a speech of the new president of the United States, which is suddenly asking us, to increase a little bit, the production out of Mexico before there are some tax increase. It's about also making some decision, when you have a country at war with another one, Russia, Ukraine, for example. I think we try to stay true to the history of this company. We try to be also loyal to consumers, to ensure that our consumers and the loyal consumers who've been buying the brand, since decades, can find their product, So it's we are lucky enough to be in a market which is pretty resilient, even in COVID years. We declined, but not as much as other markets. People want to take care of their skin. People want to enjoy also the pleasure of a new texture, of a brand, and this is what has been the motto of Beiersdorf since 140 years, and we stay true to that. So, okay, new wars will come, new problems will come. We try to stay, focused on our consumers and bringing them what is perhaps making their life a little bit better. We are not changing lives, but we are trying to make the life of our people, of our consumers,
well, speaking of white
better.
spaces, what about men? Today, a lot more aware, a lot more experimental. How about that white space? How much do you intend to build out the face care market for men?
It's a bit tricky because men are much less sophisticated than women. We must admit that, So we are good with Nivea. We know Nivea Men is a number 2 in the market in India. So we have a very good offer. But what we see more and more, which is very interesting, is that the most sophisticated men are buying products which are supposed to be for women. So we're entering into something which is more unisex, which is less men-woman. We have been launching this ingredient Thiamidol on Nivea Men, for example, and it's paying off, but it's even bigger. The share of men is even bigger on the core franchise Luminous that we are launching in India. So coming with a new offer, which is more sophisticated, which is also simple. We have to be also down to earth in the concept, in the way we sell the product. We have to use also influencers, and that's something which is interesting. You see also a lot of male influencers. You were mentioning China, for example, in China, in Korea. So it's a new way of talking to them. It's a new sophistication, and I think it's also a big business opportunity because obviously the penetration of skincare in the men population is much lower, much smaller than the population, the number of women we're able to target with our product.
Well, let me end then by asking you once about the top 5 trends that will decide or define your strategy, not just for 2025, but in the slightly more medium to long term as well.
I mean, we have a motto which I love, which is we want to be the best skincare company in the world. So in the word best, you have everything. It's about obviously being the best in terms of growth, in terms of success, but it's also being the best in terms of innovation. And it's also, which is for me extremely important, be the best in terms of people management. We have a very interesting culture in this company, caring culture. We call that win with care, where we take care of the people. We are developing people. We are not doing social plans, for example. That's something we're doing. We always try, to take care of our people and be sure that they feel happy in the company, that they feel they have the chance to develop, to grow. And that's something which is very important. So if at the end of my mandate as a CEO, which will be end of 2030, I've been able really to make of Beiersdorf the best skincare company in the world, respecting all these elements, I would be pretty proud.
Well, Vincent, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. We wish you the very best of luck with your launch plans in India as well as your sales target, and we look forward to seeing much more of you.
Thank you so much for your time. It was really great meeting you.
Well, thanks very much indeed. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the CNBC-TV18 Global Dialogues as we chat with the global CEO of Beiersdorf with the ambition of becoming the top skincare company in the world. We will take a break here on CNBC-TV18. The news continues. Don't go anywhere.